Hey.
Wow. And I guess we'll start with since we don't have the cartoon to yet ready, for the Alliance.
I
But
like that. I like for the
yeah,
Alliance. For the Horde is no, is the worst.
ironically, I was a Horde player back in the day, so it's even funnier. But um, well, first I'll ask Dan because Dan said a comment about that video.
Because watching it, it's like, I want to play this.
Yeah. That was the whole goal, you know. The video that we did and the first campaign that we ran was like, everybody thinks Christian games are a joke, and so I need to show them that they should take this seriously. And the way that I did that was, you know, well, the tactic I chose was to very much you know, show them how seriously the game took itself. And you know, I actually, you know, speaking about World of Warcraft, I kind of used the very now famous Illidan in the Burning Crusade and the "You are not prepared." You know that, I don't know if anybody remembers that, but that
Yep.
Intro to the Burning Crusade, I remember exactly where I was standing when I watched that. I was actually at BlizzCon, and my mind was exploded. That was it looked so good, and I thought, well, you know, I have this idea, and it just kind of naturally, the style that they, you know, where it said you are not prepared in the beginning, and then you are not prepared, and he screams it at the end. You know, this idea where Michael the Archangel says, "The Lord rebuke thee," and you know, as he says it, and then he yells it at the end. That was very much inspired by, you know, that Illidan yelling at the camera at the very end of that Burning Crusade trailer. So,
Cool.
but yeah, had to really kind of think outside the box, because everybody, you know, has this you know, this belief that Christian games can't be good because they've never really, you know, they've never really been good, you know. And so how will this one be any different? And every single thing that we did, that we said, it had to exude the cool factor, so that I couldn't just tell you that it was cool. Nobody will believe me. If everyone's like, all right, I don't believe what you say is true, then how then can I convince anybody of anything? So I just had to show them rather than tell them. So that was kind of our lead to do
Welcome
that.
to the new counterculture movement. We're
Yeah.
making Christ great again.
Yeah. I'm happy to be a part of it, you know.
That should go on a shirt.
Yeah.
That
I have,
shirt, yes. Make Christ great again.
oh man, I think I would get myself into hot water with about half of our fans.
or make Christ popular again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I like, you know, they say make America great again, make it, you know, and that is like a big, you know, there's this meme that was like, it's got 4 different people on it, and one is like Socrates, and it says make, and then George Washington is make America, and then Abraham Lincoln is make America great, and then, you know, the Trump is make America great again. But I find, you know, I think my prayer is for America to be good again. You know, I feel like America has in a lot of ways lost its way. And, you know, my prayers for our country, I pray for our country all the time. You know, we're instructed by the Bible to pray for our leaders, to pray for our country. So I do. And I just am, you know, and I think that a lot of people, especially normies, normal people like us, are just like, we just want it to be good. We want gas prices to be less. We want, you know, all of that. And we just want people to be cool and chill and friends and all. And we have different ideas about how to do that. But I think that, you know, everybody's kind of all on board of, you know, that there's a problem, there's a moral problem in the US, and there's a, you know, just generally we'll say a strength, a problem in the US as far as like being a nation, you know, compared to others, and the way that we used, you know, how powerful we used to be as a nation. And there are different ideas of morality and different ideas of strength, and different, you know, people believe we should fix it one way or another. I just want, you know, in all of this, I pray that God is working, you know. So.
Amen.
Yeah. So now Well, I guess I'll start with the questions.
Yeah.
How did you first get started as a creative? Out of curiosity.
Yeah. So I guess creative is an interesting word because there are two different types of brains that I see people have. One is a creative's brain and the other one is like a programmer's brain. The programmer is like, have you guys ever seen The Office? I don't know if you're fans
Yep.
of The Office or not, but like
Love
the
it.
programmer's brain is the best way I can describe it is Dwight putting together a sign that says it is your birthday and he puts a period at the end. I don't know if you guys remember that on an
Yeah.
episode. He was celebrating Meredith's birthday or something, and they always have like lame ways that they celebrate the office staff's birthday just on that show, you know. But Dwight was like, "It is your birthday," and it was a statement of fact, and it was very true. But the creative would have put an exclamation point at the end because he knew, you know, the creative would know that that's how it will be perceived. You know, it needs to be perceived in the right manner, right? Versus the program is like, I gave the information, right? And so I have kind of in some ways, I've activated both sides of that, you know, as a programmer brain and a creative brain. I love dealing with complex problems, and I like math, and I'm very good at math, rather. I've taken calculus 3 times. Like, you know, I took it, and I passed it all 3 times. Passed it in high school. I got a C. I passed it in college. I got a C plus, and then I got serious. I'm like, all right, I better actually do the work, and I passed it again and got an A plus. I redid it in college, you know, before I transferred, and I was very gifted in math. I never ever had to open the book. I just would sit and I would learn from the teacher, and then I would know how to do derivatives, and I would sit and I would learn and I would know how to do integration, and I would sit and I would learn, you know, whatever, you know, from algebra all the way up to calculus. And I could just look at it and be like, yep, know how to do that now. And I just never liked doing it. I just never enjoyed it. So my problem, and the reason that I got a C for my first 2 attempts at calculus, was because well, first of all, I had to take the class. So it was a requirement that I had to take the class, and I had to pass it. I didn't like doing the work. It was like, all right, there are 900 problems and you only have to do every 4th problem. It's like, forget that. I'm not going to do every 4th problem. I'll give you every 4th answer, you know? And so I would always get marked down on my, you know, on my quizzes, my tests, my, you know, homework or whatever, because I was just like, all right, I know the answer to this. I'm not going to show my work because I don't have time for that. I have a WoW raid to be on at like 6 p.m. and I've got like 30 minutes to do these 9,000 calculus problems. So that's all you get from me, you know? And so finally it was like, okay, I better actually get a good grade to be able to transfer to college. So I retook it, and that's kind of the way that my brain works. But then what I really like doing is I like being creative. So, you know, for this particular thing, I run, so my day job is I'm a digital marketer, and I really, really love to use the creative kind of process of marketing. Like, how do you convince somebody to buy something? How do you help people understand what something is in a way that makes them want to buy it? And so, you know, I've designed websites, I've done ads and that kind of thing. And I look at those things as largely a creative. So it's like a mathematical problem requiring a creative solution. So you've got a product and you need people to buy it. So there's your math, right? You know, like, I need to make sales. And so the creative person will say, I know how to position you and I know how to talk about your stuff, and it's really great. And then the programmer is like, well, I will then punch it into the computer and make an ad spit out that actually works. And so I kind of activate both of those things. And so I got into Deliverance back in like 2016 over the summer, and it definitely was just like that next level of creativity required to get Deliverance done. I had to kind of almost become an author of a book. You know, I had to put myself in the position of every single thing that I was making. So Michael the Archangel saying, "The Lord rebuke thee." I had to, like, it's almost like I was there listening to Michael say that, because I had to put myself into a position of, I am writing this story. How does he say it? What is his tonal inflection of his voice? What is the, what is he, where is he looking, and what is, how is he talking to the devil, and other things like that, right? So I've had to put myself into the position of all of these characters in Deliverance, and that's kind of brought me, like, I've just gone different places learning, about all that. So anyway, that's the there's an answer. I don't know if it addressed exactly what you had hoped.
That's a good answer.
Okay. Tom's up next with a question.
All right. For my first question is, how does the game work, and can you give us a quick run through of the game's rules and its gameplay?
Yeah. So so Deliverance is a game for up to 5 players. So it's 1 to 5 players. You play as angels fighting against demons and protecting saints. So this town of Fallbrook is so you're fighting demons in this modern day town, which actually does exist. It's a town in Southern California called Fallbrook, but it's a fictional place for all intents and purposes of the story. It's actually where I used to live. So but it's not me making a particular statement on that town. Like, it shouldn't cause the real estate prices to lower or anything like that. It's a Christian fantasy game, So so there's this town that's kind of backwoodsy little modern day town that's kind of stuck in like the early 1900s as far as the way that it operates. It's not a power center. It's not a there's no mortal of great influence there, and yet it's filled with demonic activity. And so you have been called into that town to see, really ever since the victory on the cross, with Christ on, in his victory on the cross, your orders have been to find every fallen prince and slay them where they stand. These fallen princes are are mighty angels that rebelled and now lead the armies of darkness from the shadows. And your suspicion is that one is leading the armies of darkness from the shadows of this little town. So it's your mission to sneak into this town. It's really kind of in some ways like a game of espionage and assassination, where you have to find out what's going on, put a stop to it, and then send the fallen princes to the abyss to await their final judgment. But something strange is happening in this town. It seems as though the evils of the human realm are bleeding into the spiritual realm and manifesting as darkness. So in addition to so you win the game through combat with the demons, but beat all the demons and you win the game. But the evils of the mortal realm are manifesting as darkness cards that each will generally cripple the angels and bolster the forces of darkness. So that's kind of how the game works. So mechanically, you're fighting in tactical combat on a grid. So you're cooperative, fully cooperative with you and your angelic allies. The game itself is the one controlling the demons. And so you're battling against demons while this darkness is kind of coming in from the mortal realm. Now, there are these saints that represent kind of like battlefield objectives on the board that you have to protect. So the demons will try to oppress them, and the angels have to try to protect them. If the demons oppress them, greater amounts of darkness will flow into the spiritual realm, and of course, if the angels protect them, then fewer amount of darkness will flow in. So that's kind of how the game works.
That would really make a really good. That plot alone would make a great novel, like a young adult, like 500-page epic novel that's by itself.
I would love to write one like that. So Frank Peretti wrote a novel called This Present Darkness, and actually I'm listening to it right now on audiobook. It's really fun. It's so there's Piercing the Darkness is the sequel. So This Present Darkness is the first, and Piercing the Darkness is a sequel that he wrote. And they're both really good books. They were written in like the 80s, and the big, if you will, the big difference between that and what we're doing with Deliverance is that mortals are the kind of the main cast of characters in Frank Peretti's book, and the angels are kind of like the angels and demons are just kind of jockeying for position around mortals that are going through a very real situation in their world, right? And then Deliverance, the angels and the demons are kind of the main cast of characters, and the mortals are the ones that are like the supporting cast. So I've been very fascinated by what, you know, I've studied in Deliverance and kind of the you know, between the angels and the demons and even the people around them. But one thing that our fans really wanted is they wanted to see, because we show so much of the angels and demons, they really wanted to see them interact more with the physical, the humans. And so when we're writing our campaign now for the expansion, which is on Kickstarter right now, that is something that we're really thinking about in regard to just helping the players see more of an insight into how the spiritual realm interacts with the mortal realm, you know.
Oh,
Oh, cool. So,
all right. Joe or Dan, do you guys want to take the next question?
sure.
Do you realize how much your head angel in your trailer looks like Arthas from Warcraft 3?
Because like he looks just
Before
like
he
him.
fell, right? Before he fell.
Yeah, it's like
That's awesome. Not
Yeah,
Death Knight Arthas or anything, right? Yeah, we're actually, that's so funny. I've not even thought about that. It wasn't originally a likeness that I asked our artist to use, but he is a big fan of Blizzard and whatnot. I don't know if he's played Warcraft 3 or not, but I could actually ask him about that. It is I'm now gonna investigate.
please do.
Probably
Yeah.
something more subconscious.
Yeah.
What the description and what came to his mind.
Yeah.
Because, well, let's be honest. In 2003, there was not a single game character who looked as awesome as Arthas.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's true. It's true. And
Yeah.
actually, yeah, a lot of those characters just in Warcraft 3, they became the ones that moved the needle the most for everyone in World of Warcraft, and which is one of the biggest mistakes that they made, was just killing off everyone's favorite characters one by one in World of Warcraft as they were advancing the story. I thought when Illidan, for example, was in a Black Temple, you know, I don't know if, for those listening that don't know what this is, I apologize, but Illidan, you actually fight Illidan, who is one of the most popular characters in Warcraft 3, and he dies in Black Temple and like a raid. It's like Illidan can't just die. Like I fully expected him to like jump through a portal and be like, Leda, like here's a treasure chest for whatever that you can pick up. But they just killed him off. It's like that was such a bummer, you know. And then Arthas again in Wrath of the Lich King, you beat Death Knight Arthas or whatever, and it's like that character can't just die.
Well,
you know, this character's a big deal, and so they
at
like
that point, the story's over. Like the plot's over. There's you got a
Yeah.
beginning, middle, and end. It's over.
but nobody liked that. Everyone was like, well, now I'm mad. I'll cancel my subscription then, you know, and because there's nothing cool, no characters that I can latch onto. And so then of course World of Warcraft was like, well, actually we have this thing that happened with the time where we just reversed the time and fixed all of our mistakes, you know, that we made
So
in the
weird.
story.
It's like
And-
you can go very far with the show called Lost, but once you make the sequel Found, you can't go very far.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. So, where did you get the idea for Deliverance?
So it came from a couple of places, but it primarily Daniel chapter 9. It talks about the story of the Prince of Persia, which is a fallen angel of some kind that was able to stop the angel Gabriel from delivering a message for 3 weeks. And if there was, I always say this, but if there was any angel that had a hall pass, it would be like the chief postal worker of heaven, Gabriel, the messenger of God, the guy that's like, hey, Mary, you're going to have a baby, and his name will be Jesus and whatever. Like that guy is he delivers really important messages. And so he had a message for this, for one of the prophets, Daniel, and, you know, a man of God that was delayed for 3 weeks by a fallen angel. So Gabriel, I'm sure, was like, move, I have a message from God. And the demon said no. It was like, not only did he say no, he stopped Gabriel. And then so Michael the Archangel comes. This is the way the story goes. Michael the Archangel comes and they're both fighting. And so Gabriel is finally able to break away and deliver the message. And then in just very toward the very end of this exchange that Gabriel, the angel Gabriel has with this man Daniel, Gabriel says, "Oh, by the way, I have to return to help Michael with the Prince of Persia because he couldn't beat him on his own, evidently." And the Archangel, like everyone, like the most well-known angel, aside from, of course, the devil. You've got Michael the Archangel, and everybody's favorite Archangel. Um, can't beat this Prince of Persia on his own. Gabriel had to come back and help him, and then afterward, some other fallen angel named the Prince of Greece was going to come, and they had to prepare for him. And I thought, wow, I figured, like, if God wanted something done and he sent his angels, they could just be like, look at my hall pass, you have to let me by. Or maybe they're covered in some bright indestructible armor or light, and they can just overpower the demons easily. That's not how it works. And so that's kind of where the basis of the story began for me.
What the next question? This is a two-part question. Is now it seems like your work is doing very well as far as success goes, and do you why is that? And do you think going indie is the way rather than trying for more mainstream approach?
Yeah, so I'd say first thing is it has been a success. From my perspective, it's been a great success. I mean, right now, if I'm looking at, let's look at the dashboard. We're over $360,000 funded. We're closing in on 370. So we're at $368,661 funded as of this moment, which is incredible. And it now is the which is sometimes actually quite small for certain. There are other games that have much larger amounts of funding, in the millions of dollars and whatnot.
Wow.
But it's cool that an indie game like Deliverance, that was a Christian indie game, found such wide appeal. We've got Christians and non-Christians that jump in on and are backing Deliverance because they're excited for it. And so I'd say the work has been a success because I think that, first of all, it's something that people really wanted, for a number of different reasons. Sometimes people felt like they just couldn't get into fantasy type genre or fantasy genre type games because they were they forced compromise. Like in World of Warcraft, if you play the Troll Warlock, it's like you've got some voodoo and demon magic to throw around, and it's like some people just are not comfortable with doing stuff like that. So it was frustrating to me as well. So I felt like, why can't we have something that's completely awesome that also just doesn't require compromise of my faith? I'd love to just jump into a fantasy world that just didn't force me to choose, right? And yet I also didn't want to compromise on the gameplay, like the quality of the gameplay of, we've been talking about World of Warcraft and Warcraft 3 a little bit. The quality of those games was excellent. And so why should I have to compromise on a game, because of it's Christian, so it's not as good, and so that's where I think a lot of people resonated with that. And that's why they're kind of jumping on board. So that, and then also, another element is it's just an innovative game on its own. So there's no other game like it out there. There are games that have elements that are similar, like maybe you could find other games that have angels in them, but no game that features like the biblical angels. But angels that feature demons, yes, but there's really nothing thematically that is the same, right? You've got like this epic biblical angels versus demons action happening, and a theme that is very well integrated with the way the game plays. But then also the game itself, regardless of the theme, is innovative because you have this combat in on a map, on a board. But that is, you have to balance that against these darkness cards, which mean that you can't actually just press your strongest attack over and over and actually win. Like if you press your strongest attacks over and over in Deliverance, you die every time you lose. And so people really enjoyed that. I've had feedback that some people hated that they weren't able to press their strongest attack buttons over and over because that's what they're used to. And it's like, we made a game that was innovative. So I think, going indie is, so the reason Kickstarter exists for me and for board games make up like 40% of that market of Kickstarter. And
Really?
yeah, and it's the largest market of that Kickstarter has by far. And the reason that that is because there's no other way to go independent other than paying for a print run yourself, storing it in your garage, and trying to sell it out of the back of your truck, or at conventions or whatever. For creators that have great ideas, it's very, very expensive to order product from China and ship it, and then you don't have anywhere to sell it yet. So you're going to encounter lots of storage and warehousing fees in order to try to sell. Well, Kickstarter allows me as a creator to gauge demand. So I know, for example, let's just say at the end of this particular expansion campaign we're running right now, I know I will have sold like 1,200 or 1,500 expansion boxes, and then I will have sold about 1,000 base game boxes. And that means that if I make a print run of 2,500 units of each one, then I've got half of them sold, and so it's very helpful that I have not only the gauge, like if I had 10,000 of these sold, then I could change my print run, and I wouldn't necessarily have to lose lots of money to learn a valuable lesson in but and then also I think that others love the fact that they can actually get new, awesome, innovative ideas, because it is so cost prohibitive for publishers. The types of games that they're willing to make are very different. They'll make Euro games that sell in Europe. They'll make like games that are based on popular intellectual properties like Marvel or Lord of the Rings or Doctor Who or whatever. But they like new intellectual properties like Deliverance. They're like, this is unproven, I don't want to invest in it, and so video games actually are a much smaller market on Kickstarter because there's already an indie market for those, and that's called Steam. So the Steam stores, how an independent video game developer brings their idea to the public, and Kickstarter is the way that board gamers do it. So
Cool.
yeah.
Okay. I guess Dan will take up. Well, you answered question number 6 and also 9. So we'll just go to number 7.
What sort of angels should we expect from Deliverance?
And this is one I really think is really cool.
Yeah. So the angels of Deliverance they're allegorical for the people playing them. So the players that are actually playing the angels should see themselves in these characters, as you can surmise based on the way that they look. They do not do biblical angels justice. So either biblical angels look like men with 0 wings, or we have monstrous creatures with 4 wings or 6 wings and eyes all over, and heads of different animals and other things like that. And every single time that you see an angel in the Bible, except for the one that I can think of is actually when Mary was given the message from Angel Gabriel. Every single other situation, except for the ones that are men, like kind of plain, very normal looking men, people fell down to worship them. And the angels were always like, hey, don't do that. Except for the one guy that was like, yeah. And he led a giant rebellion, and a third of the angels fell with him. So anyway, the idea behind the angels from Deliverance, which is, by the way, the devil, is what I'm talking about. So the angels of Deliverance are meant to represent people. The Bible says that heaven is filled with people of every tribe, nation, kindred, and language, which means that the heaven is filled with the people of various cultures. And so the angels represent people of different cultures, and which you can see based on their skin color, their garb, and other things like that.
Cool.
But yeah, so now mechanically, we want each angel to be very, very interesting. So a lot of the time, a game like this will have, like almost like a cheap, like a little mini game. Each character is like a little mini game. You're the warrior angel. You're going to build your rage bar and then spend it. And that's the mini game with the warrior. The rogue is you're going to build some combo points and you're going to spend those in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's the mini game with the, the rogue, and the priest has mana, and you have to, spend your mana carefully because it takes a while to regenerate or whatever. So for Deliverance, each of the characters is very self-sufficient, but very dynamic, and very they have strengths in a way that, like, I would liken to League of Legends. So each character in League of Legends is generally kitted out in a manner that makes them very good at something. Or you could say like Dota, or heroes in Warcraft 3, or even World of Warcraft. Like, every character needs to be able to quest and do everything that like, to get to the end of the game. But warriors are going to do it one way, and priests are going to do it another, and mages another, and so on. So each of the characters in Deliverance need to be self-sufficient, and also, they all have the same prey action. They have some kind of movement. They have some kind of damage dealing thing. They have some kind of heal. But then the way that they damage, the way that they heal is so different. So Azrael, the Angel of Death, is going to send out locust swarms and damage multiple groups of demons at the same time. So you want to make sure to position yourself in a manner that allows you to hit a bunch of things. Michael the Archangel doesn't care. He just wants to hit stuff with his big giant sword. So, but he's actually rather weak when it comes to swarms of enemies. He has to knock them down one at a time. So the way that you play with Michael is just immediately different, right? And so that's so when you're talking about Deliverance and the new Council of the Fallen expansions on Kickstarter, part of that is just in making sure that every character feels very, very different from one another, and it's not some sort of weird, stupid little mini game that you're tired of after like 2 plays. You could play the same angel, 24 times, and you would get a different experience every time. Like, people have their favorite characters in Deliverance because it's like, all right, I need to play this guy because I want us to win. So I'm going to play Shula or Michael, or I'm going to play, and everybody has their favorite characters because they're all capable enough, but they kind of, your personality is able to shine in the way that you play each individual character. So I don't know if that was deep enough. I could talk about specific angels and whatnot, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you've been answering some of our questions for us in some ways, so I'm going to try and skip ahead here the best I can. Let's see. Oh, yes, here's one. What advice would you give to someone wanting to create a board game of their own? What sort of tools did you use, and how did you come up with the rules and details for your board game?
Yeah. So this one is good. So there's the first thing, if you want to create a game, even a video game, you can make a video game into a board game first. If it works as a board game, it can work as a video game. If you can't make it work as a board game, it cannot work as a video game. A lot of the time when people make video games, they just kind of go off the tried and true, like similar to Legend of Zelda. Or whatever, they're not necessarily innovating. They're just making something that they know is going to work. So my first advice is to think about the experience that you want someone to have. Like, even before you make a game, a lot of people will say, do you, I start with the theme first. I think about what theme I want, and then I go mechanics, after that. And other people will say, well, I start with the mechanics first. I start with the cool thing that I want people to do. I'm going to make a deck builder, and it's going to have worker placement, and then I'll figure out what theme later. And so, you might have the person that's like, I want to make a Viking themed game that adds worker placement and deck building so that the Vikings can fight and have a fun time in Valhalla or whatever. And then you might have others that are like, I need deck building and worker placement, so I'm going to make the theme Vikings because that will allow me to, place workers. They're going to be Vikings and whatever. But a lot of the time, these types of games, you can just retheme into zombies or pirates or whatever. And so I think about, what experience do I want my players to have? And for me, I think about moments like that I've had in gaming. So for example, when I played, so in World of Warcraft, I fought against this big boss back in like classic World of Warcraft called Ragnaros. He was this huge titan, like a fire titan that had a big hammer, and he punched you and sent out his little fire minions and whatever. And it was a raid that you fought with 40 people. And at the time, nobody was good at World of Warcraft, so we were all trying to raid and beat this boss for the very first time. And we must have fought this guy like 40 or 50 times. And it took us probably 9 weeks, maybe it was like 9 to 10 weeks to actually drop this guy. And each week we had to clear through this dungeon. We had like 1 or 2 nights to fight Ragnaros just by himself, and we'd fight and then die, fight and then die. We must have fought and then lost like between 4 and 7 times a night, twice a week, for 9 weeks. So it was definitely more than 50 attempts. It was maybe closer to 100. And we started getting him lower and lower and lower. And the idea in World of Warcraft is if you beat that boss, you get really cool loot and you get better and better, and so we were one of the first guilds to, finally beat this guy. And the moment that we dropped him and we defeated him, almost all of us were dead. We had like 3 or 4 people left that were just, all the healers without a mana, like shooting their wands at him for like a tiny little bit of damage. And he died. And like his big hammer goes and hits the ground, and everybody, the sound on our voice chat was deafening. Like the players and what they were just screamed. Everybody worked so hard to finally beat this stupid guy. And the sound on, we used Ventrilo at the time. Nowadays you'd use Discord, right? But the sound was like so memorable, and everybody was like high-fiving each other from where we lived all across the US, and had a guy in Australia and guys in UK, and everyone's on like weird hours, and it's like 11:30 at night my time, and it was like the last attempt and we did it. That experience, I wanted to turn that into I wanted people to feel that when they played a game, right? And so, there were other experiences. I wanted you to feel like in Deliverance, the experience in Deliverance was, I want you to feel like this epically powerful angel that is just on the verge of defeat, where you feel like, wow, demons can't even stand before me. I'm whipping everybody, and holy cow, I'm at 2 health. What happened? That's the feeling that I wanted you to have when you were playing Deliverance. And it took a long time to get there, but I definitely recommend, think of a feeling that you want people to have. Think of that magic moment that you experience, that you want others to experience too. I was, by the way, able to replicate that. I used Deliverance in a raid scenario. So I actually had, I was just me against, there were 26 players for Deliverance. We played this at a convention in September. And
raid as in that movie Raid?
No. So a raid is like everybody is raiding into a dungeon to defeat a dragon. So it's like you're all grouping together, and that group is called a raid. So that's kind of an MMO RPG term for a large group of players getting together and, to go fight a boss.
Oh.
And so I was the boss. I'm like, I am going to be Andriel, and I am the boss that you're all fighting. And so we had like 8 or 9 tables of players with Deliverance. They'd sit down like 4 people at a table. Oh, Matt Thiessen was there, actually. He said it was epic.
Hey,
yes,
man,
it was.
Welcome to our channel.
Yeah. So but yeah, so we had a really great time, and everybody at the end beat the boss, and it was this, we had these some really fun moments during that time. And so whenever you're designing, so back to, I guess, the original question was, whenever you're creating a game, think about, not that, for me, my advice is to not think about like what theme or what mechanics or whatever. What experience do you want players to have? In regard to like the tools that I use, I would say the first thing is, any game that is on my shelf that's like back there, like Pandemic Legacy Season 1, I beat that game a long time ago, and there are all these cubes that are just sitting there doing nothing. And War of the Ring is like a big giant, Lord of the Rings kind of a Risk style game. And I took all the minis out of that, and I built a prototype. I bought some card stock off Amazon. I actually used like 3x5 note cards because I didn't know you could buy like actual card stock cards at the time. And I made a prototype. So my very first prototype took like 4 to 6 months to actually make it, because I was just taking my time and I was thinking about it and being so detail oriented, and it was horrible. It was like not fun at all to play. It did not feel like you were angels. It felt like you were like Lord of the Rings miniatures pushing cubes around a map. And it didn't feel thematic at all. And we played the first of 6 battles, which was supposed to be a single game, and it took us 2.5 hours to play 1/6 of the game, and we lost. It was like, this doesn't even feel fun. And so it's a matter, I guess the Bible says that it's to the glory of God to conceal a matter, and to the glory of kings to seek out a matter. And so your job as a game maker is to seek out how to make this game engaging, how to make it feel like you are, like for me, an epic angel, whatever that experience was, the epic angel slaying demons and rescuing saints and whatnot, so took a long time, 5 years before we actually made it to Kickstarter, and then another 2 years or so before we managed to deliver it. But by the time we did, everybody loved it. So
I'll just quickly go through the comments.
Yeah.
Grimdrake.
That's a very nice picture. Love the dog.
Let's read this.
Daniel says, I was there at the event and participated in the raid. I can confirm that feeling comparison to Ragnaros dropping for the first time. It was a nail biter and intense. Loved it.
Yep.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. There was this one thing that I did that, so I thought for the raid event, so everybody's in this room, you're all sitting down, like imagine you guys just sit down together as a group of friends with your copy of Deliverance. And you're like, I'm going to play Michael, I'm going to play Azrael, I'm going to play Christine, whatever. So you've got your characters, and then here we are. So one of the things that I required everyone to do was they had to give me a cool fact about Lord of the Rings or some other fandom of their choice that impressed me. And if it impressed me, then they would gain a free level. The whole group would gain a free level if one person gave me a fact that was interesting enough. And so that was like the first half. And so everybody was like, I got like the Viggo Mortensen broke his toe on the helmet, like very first thing. I don't know if you guys know that one. We got a bunch of others, and then we started to get really interesting ones. We started to get very, very, different fandoms. Like one guy, and then there was this one guy that gave this like legendary bit of information about Master Chief's armor in Halo. It was really cool. I won't recount the whole thing, but it was really cool. And the whole room just like fell over. They thought that was so cool. It was like this 16 or 17-year-old kid, his name was Kai. And then at the end of the raid, like the kids, anyone that was like under 18 years old that like their parents dropped them off and whatnot, they had to go, and it was getting late, and the game was like kind of coming to a close. They were starting to like overcome the boss, but they still had like 30 minutes left or whatever. So all these kids had to go, and they were all at the same table. And I was like, well, wait a second, guys. By a show of hands, who gave point to the person that gave the coolest fact of the night? And everybody pointed at this kid who had to leave. And I gave him he didn't own Deliverance. He didn't have the money to buy Deliverance, but I had one copy there. And so I picked it up and I gave it to him. And the whole room just exploded. I could it was just like that moment of that Ragnaros comparison, and I was really surprised because I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that to be that was actually the loudest moment of the whole night, was that kid winning the game. It was like this sweet poetic justice for everybody and whatnot. It was a really cool moment, but when they finally beat the boss, it's like, it actually wasn't the huge explosion. It was the first time I'd ever done a raid like that. But that's because they knew how much health I had. They could math it out and figure out, all right, we're going to win in like 2 rounds. We're just going to win. We just have to not be defeated yet. And so it was an interesting, very interesting kind of learning experience. And I thought, it's really simple. And I know we're on a tangent right now, but like, if I just, instead of showing the amount of like digital health I had, instead of on a digital clock, showing you the health I had, if I instead had a big red bar of health that just slowly decreased and decreased and decreased, it's like, oh, we've almost got him, but we don't know if we've got him yet. and then when it goes to 0, and then like the death animation plays, everybody then would probably explode, and so just to try to make that happen, it takes a lot of testing, a lot of play testing, and so that's the final element you need, is to test it a lot, and don't assume that your game is good. Your game is bad. It's bad. You just have to work it out, so anyway, hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
I'll go with the next question. Now, I noticed online there were some people who objected to your project, and it generally seems harmless to me. So how come some people have taken offense at it, or seem to like just take it personally when it's just a board game?
Yeah, so there's some, because of the subject matter, it can be offensive to those that don't understand, or rather those that aren't willing to give it a chance. Somebody that's like, oh, this is Bible based. Well, I hate everything Bible based. It's almost like, somebody saying, oh, you're a Raiders fan. Oh, you're a horrible person. I'm a Chiefs fan, and that's kind of like the line in the sand that's drawn, like, oh, you don't like the Chiefs, then you're dead to me, and that's like, and that's not rational, right?
Yeah. And
some people, it's like,
reminds me of that quote from that Jesus said in the New Testament, before, I'm paraphrasing, before they hated you, they hated me.
Yeah.
And
it's true. And I think that as a Christian, if you're not getting that hate yet, you're either your project is either ineffective, or what is most likely, and I would say this is probably true with the vast majority of people, is that you haven't shown your project to enough people yet, or it's just not out there enough. You'll get haters. Every good game should have haters. People that love the game, on one hand, doesn't mean that you're universally loved. Like Wingspan has sold like millions of units in the last couple of years, and I don't like it. I like Wormspan actually, but Wingspan is a board game that has sold tons and tons of games. Like Catan has sold millions of copies, and I'm not really a huge fan of Catan. I'll play it, but it's like one of those things that I'm just not a huge fan. But I'm not a super hater. I am a super hater of Ticket to Ride, though. I do not like train games. I do not like them, Sam. I just don't like them. And if I played Brass Birmingham, which at the time was like the #1 ranked game on Board Game Geek, like straight up #1, beat out Gloomhaven, and I'm like, I hated this. I played it, got through it, was like, okay, cool, let's play another game. And because I like those kind of very thematic experiences, and I feel it's just not my style game. But then you have games like Deliverance, where people will look at the theme and be disgusted by the theme. They'll say, I don't like this. I don't like the idea behind it. It certainly must be preachy and proselytize. And, you must go to confession before the end of the campaign if you are to, pass or whatever. If you want to pass go and collect $200, you have to give your heart to Jesus. It's like very, very, a lot of assumptions.
Only makes sense.
Yeah.
And yet you've got a game like a tabletop game like Scion Hero that follows similar themes, except you're part of multiple pantheons, that is very popular.
Right. Yes. And so that's one thing that I find is some people object to it specifically because it's Christian. And that actually, interestingly enough, is not only the non-Christian side. You have, in fact, I will say, in my experience, it's been, let's just say, out of 10 non-Christians that look at the game, one may take offense, maybe. And that of that one, maybe one in like 20, unless it's via Facebook ads, and then it just seems like all the trolls come out and talk about the ads or on the ads. But anonymity is definitely a problem in the internet in general. But you'll find that, well, I find that all the time when people they take offense that are non-Christian, most of the time it's because they've been wounded in some manner and they're acting defensively. They're like trying to cover a wound, and like a wounded animal. But then I'll have some people really love it, but then on the Christian side, maybe let's just say 1 in 5 will take great offense to the game. And even though my biggest advocates are Christians, My biggest opponents are also Christian. The people who are protesting my funeral are Christian. They are the ones that are like, how dare you represent, Jesus in this, this manner. It's a second commandment violation to even have a picture of Jesus on anything, let alone him on the cross or whatever. And then there are others that just say, you're basically speaking for the Bible, where the Bible is silent and this is bad, and other things like that. And so they will say, I've been told about a half a dozen times that I'm going to hell unless I repent by Christians or people that call themselves that, right? And so, I just learned, if you want to make a thing, you have to have thick skin. You're going to get haters, and the person that you guys are probably referencing, they actually played the game with me at Origins in person. They were offended at a particular card labeled sexual immorality. They're a transgender person that, said sex is amoral. There's no morality having to do with it, which I believe that there is. And the card was not specific. It's we don't make cards in our game that specifically condemn alternative lifestyles, but we don't shy away from what the Bible calls sin. And the Bible's very clear that sexual morality is sin. And so that's a card in our darkness cards. We've got suicidal thoughts. We've got manic depression. We've got lots of things that sometimes people mistakenly think like, oh, the devil's causing manic depression. No, that's an evil thing that happens. And I'm not making a commentary on who's responsible. I'm just making a commentary that is a thing that's evil, and it impacts the angels in a negative way because they suffer when people suffer, right? And so I think some of it is because of a misunderstanding, and others it's like, well, I'm not quite sure about the sexual morality card. I'm just going to assume that it's offensive because, and that it's trying to condemn me. And that's, I think it's maybe more for clicks or for, I'm not sure exactly, but for the most part, I couldn't be bothered to slow down and read those things,
Yeah.
So
like,
but
did the Romans really slow down and pay attention to Elagabalus after he was gone?
No.
And kudos to anyone who knows Roman history and knows.
I was going to say, I don't know enough about the Roman Empire.
Well, Elagabalus, you can look him up later. He was the original deviant in some ways, and he so offended the Romans they turned on him later.
Okay.
Because let's just say that he would have had pronouns for one thing. So
okay.
But anyways,
so I think I have time for like one more question or one more exchange. Sorry, I have a meeting that's like bumping up next to this thing.
Okay.
All right.
Will you be
in that case? We'll jump to the. Oh, I was going to say we'll jump to the end with the. If Tom's okay, like, just can we expect more projects in the Deliverance universe or any other board games down the road from you?
Yes. So we right now, so this is the second Deliverance project that we've developed. We're going to finish this expansion. We have already plans for a third and potentially other games. So what we're going to do is there's so much material for Deliverance that we can roll with. We can, we don't need to continue in Fallbrook. In fact, we plan on wrapping up Fallbrook in this campaign. We plan on exploring other areas in addition to other areas in the modern day world. We also would like to explore very, very important pivotal times in the past. So I don't want to ruin it for anybody that doesn't know, but we do plan on going back to a big battle in the past that is that Scripture is very clear about what happened there, and we're going to explore what happened in the spiritual realm in that massive battle. So it should be fun.
One thing I have to ask: who did the art for Deliverance?
Yes, our artist Dan Maynard is incredible. He's the one that did all the angels and the demons and whatnot. We also have Johan Boysonet. He's our cartographer. He did all the maps for Lord of the Rings: Journeys of Middle Earth. He did the Elder Scrolls: Betrayal of the Second Era. He did a lot of Warhammer and Mansions of Madness and other games.
Wow.
And so he's our cartographer, our map guy. But Dan Maynard is the character artist, and he is really gifted at what he does. So actually found him by asking the senior concept artist over at Lego who he would recommend. And he was like, I know a guy, and referred me. It's a very short version of a long story. I know a guy, and it was Dan. So I've been working with Dan since like 2019. Pretty much I'm his only client now. So yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So I'll just check the chat just real quick before Ticket to Ride. Oh, they're fighting over Ticket to Ride. With getting Deliverance made. Oh yeah. Yeah. Imagine. So
yeah, so yes, we have had many difficulties. Like one insight is our artist. A number of years ago, when we were working on the first game, Dan Maynard, he had his apartment broken into by a junkie that was high on meth or something, and he got all his computer equipment stolen, his TV and everything like that. And he had all the art of Deliverance on the computer, and he had about 2 days of artwork that he had not yet backed up, and so we lost about a week of time working, and then several days of finished artwork and whatnot. And we they actually recovered the police recovered the computer, but not the TV. And he moved immediately, but we managed to. So there was like a big hoopla going on there. It felt a very spiritual attack on the project itself, and so we've been there are many other occasions, many other things like that have happened, but the enemy does not like Deliverance. The devil does not like Deliverance. So which is a good thing, and we're not afraid. As long as we've got Christ in our corner, then only thing the devil can do is what God allows, right? So which is never, it was supposed to be never too much, right? So
yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you guys' time, and I'm sorry I have to jump because I have another meeting. But
no problem.
yeah, I thank you guys for just allowing me onto your new channel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Honestly,
first one.
Yeah, first guy.
First one, hopefully of many.
Awesome.
Yeah, wow. Thanks so much. It's really the honor and pleasure is all ours.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, if anybody's listening to this and is interested in jumping on Deliverance, it's just you can search for search on Kickstarter. Just Google Deliverance Kickstarter, or you can search on Kickstarter for the word Deliverance.
And it's in the description.
That's right. So right now we have 4 days left on a Kickstarter. You can get the best prices and really support a project that is worthy of hopefully worthy of support. So we really appreciate it, and thank you guys for jumping on with me.
And that's Deliverance the game, not Deliverance the movie.
That's correct. Yeah, not an ill-fated river rafting trip. So
wait, there's a movie?
You don't want to know. Long story.
You don't want to know. It's Burt Reynolds. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much, and I'll let y'all go, and you guys can wrap up Duo and reflect on it. I'm sure my fans would still appreciate that too. So, all right.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Have a great day.
I now need to make room on my board game shelf.
Yep, that's awesome. All right, we'll catch you guys later.
Take care.
See you later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like the art for this and I'm actually looking at. You know what? I'm gonna share screen again because this is just. Hope you don't mind, Tom.
Oh,
This
I
is
don't
just.
mind at all one bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll exit the full screen layout. All right, there. This is just. This is really cool, and well, I really like that we have the little flags here as well. We got Union Jack. Sorry, I like the Brits. Yeah. So,
And he said the character art was Dan Maynard. You know what? Just looking at the art alone, it's like he said he's his only client at the moment. You know what? We got to help this guy out and get him some more work.
yeah, like how? Yeah, how is this guy not the biggest name in the board game industry? Like, this
Yeah.
guy's art is holy man.
I mean, he would not only do great on board games, but maybe comic art, illustrations for books.
I bet you any amount of money that Andrew's going to be working on that. Yeah. Oh, I got to do this. Note the hyperlinks in the description are not usable as on FYI. Back at. Oh, okay. I thought that they were working. They usually work on the other channels. I'm going to have to pin it in the comments section when the time comes. Thank you, Mr. Erickson. I'll just I'll put this in the chat because it's absolutely important. People back this up. And when I go to chop up the stream into multiple videos, the link to the Kickstarter will be in every comment section because honestly, like, and even the website, because I included the website, or at least I wanted to include the website link. I'll have to look into YouTube and why it did not plug in, like, properly hyperlink that.
Also,
never had that
Authors Alliance, we have our own Substack, and I just recently put up an interview article, or I asked Andrew a few questions about his game, and which is worthy of checking out too. So if so Dan, or if any of you guys want to post the article link on there too, and maybe subscribers.
Yeah. Happy to help. Yeah, thank you so much.
Mr. Daniel.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You're a
lifesaver. Yeah. Absolutely. And what I find really interesting is all the different prices here. There's so many options. Honestly, the like the Archangel Investor stuff looks really good, but I don't have $1,500 American. I barely even have $5 American at this point. I'm joking, but like, wow, this is just really, really cool. I'm not trying to like brown nose here. This is just really neat. Since the victory on the cross, you have hunted the fallen princes that lead the demonic hordes from the shadows. After centuries of tracking, you have found their base of operations, the unassuming town of Fallbrook. A strange darkness sits heavy upon the town, and the quiet cry for deliverance is heard among the humans. You tighten your grip on your blade and come up with a plan, for the father of lies is cunning, and this town is too insignificant. What conspiracy lies hidden here? I'll only say one bit of criticism among the humans. Why not among, well, all men or something? I don't know. I like older English, so that's my only.
Well,
but wow.
Oh, wait a minute. Go scroll up again.
Yes, sir.
That's the way. Go up to the go down. Go down.
Oh.
Stop. Cut. The Babylon Bee endorsement.
Wow.
The Babylon Bee, and for you folks out there, the Babylon Bee was heavily censored by Twitter prior to Elon Musk buying it, and now you should The really, really good outfit, good company. You should check out the Babylon Bee.
Okay. What's in the box? Sorry, 7. I couldn't resist.
Let's go down and take a look.
All right. We have $59, which is Deliverance here with the 46 cardboard standees. Oh, cool. 46 of them. That's a lot. Most board games don't have that many. Wow. We're really spoiled for choice. Darkness board. Oh, that's interesting. Map boards. Angels, of course. Intercessor. Solo mode. 90 angel talents. 15 per angels. Wow. There's demon minions to fight against. Demon talent cards. Fallen princes. Yeah. Fallen
Prince talent cards.
Yeah. Prayer cards.
Those are important.
54 darkness cards. Okay. That's going to be interesting to fight against. 25 battle cards.
Just look at that one card, the Middling Imp. That just from we can look at the art on that is like, that looks like.
That is good art.
That makes me think of the early days of Spawn.
Yeah. I'll just go to the chat real quick. Now you see why when I was first introduced to Deliverance 2 years ago, I immediately backed it. Yeah, I definitely see that. I definitely see it. That is the old 2021 Kickstarter campaign. Join us on the Deliverance Council of... Okay. I'm going to now check out the... I'm going to scroll back up. I'm going to go all the way back to the top. I have not seen... Okay, this is the expansion campaign. So if I click here, this is the new one. I believe this is the new one. Holy cow. One scenario locked. I hope I'm on the right link. Wow. I still love this art. And I like that there's a war horn. I just love war horns. Le call. Well, I'm French, so of course I love war horns because the chanson de Roland. Oh man, I would love this artist to do like a Roland, a Charlemagne board game. That'd be freaking cool.
Yeah, that's the link.
Thank you, Mr. Grim Drake.
Okay.
Like your dog too, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Yep. There's the option to get the base game and the expansion. Oh,
really?
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So look at this lion. Wow. I ain't lying when I say that looks cool. I couldn't resist that one. Zero. This one up. Cool. The Faithful Watcher. She blasts her shofar and heals ally wounds enemies. Interesting. The Angelic Warfare board game returns for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12. And I'm just like completely sold because there's a reference to St. Paul. One of my favorite saints. So
got my Bible. I'm actually going to look up Ephesians right now.
I think that's St. Paul who wrote it. Plus expansion, just the expansion, everything new, lots of options. Oh yeah, like wow. There's so many options that I'm kind of just amazed because I've seen some crowdfunds, but never one with so many options over the years. This is
good. There's a part of me that's tempted. Oh, I'm gonna go order the base game right now, but I know I'd probably get a bit of a discount if I get both at once.
maybe. We'll see. We'll go over the price in a minute.
Yeah, I looked up the Ephesians thing. The whole thing is because now, mind you, I have the NIV version of the Bible. And finally, starting in verse 10, it says, "Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on your full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms."
Okay. Yeah. There's 9 new angels to choose from. Wow. Oh, I like the nod to Damascus. Damask. Yeah, sorry. Paul's one of my favorite saints. We have the gift of frankincense, Jonathan's warning. I wonder if that's a nod. Well, that's a nod to David's buddy. But I also thought of Dracula there with how Jonathan warned everyone of Dracula and whatnot. It reminds me of both. Sackcloth.
Well, maybe Bram Stoker got the inspiration for Jonathan out of the Bible right there.
I think he did. I'm pretty sure he did. Because Stoker was a Christian. Well, a very traditional one. So, of course, his work had to be subverted and deconstructed and mocked. And you have the ridiculous romanticization of the villain, of course. You can play this game a dozen times and still not see all that a single angel has to offer, let alone the whole host of angels at your disposal. Cool. Redbud? Sounds like that one beer franchise.
The
Bud Light. Yeah, I think
I was thinking the energy drink Red Bull.
Yeah, that too. The whole game is balanced.
I'm picturing a video game made on Unreal Engine 5 for a video game version of this. That would be awesome. With the same art, the same concept art and everything. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, beat that CD, Red.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, okay. This is beautiful.
How to play.
Okay, I might slow down on some of the art. There's so much scrolling to do. We're going to check the prices now, just so that people know, like, just to make it clear. All right. So there's the $1 that only want to grab some of our elusive add-ons or gain access to the Pledge Manager layer. Backers at this tier will not get the free exclusive Metal XP round tokens. Those cost $7 in the Pledge Manager. Okay. Retailers only. The $50 pledge is a deposit toward your wholesale purchase of Deliverance items. You will be the first retailers to have access to these titles. Oh.
That's for retailers, I think.
Yeah. Deluxe expansion. Excuse me. The Deliverance Council of the Fallen Deluxe expansion with 10 ink-washed angel minis and all applicable stretch goals, the scenario book, and the Metal XP round tokens. Wow. Okay. Deluxe base game second edition, $89. Okay. So very similar, but there's the base game.
So that's the first game.
Okay. $119 for backers that already own Deliverance and want everything new. Includes Council of the Fallen expansion, 10 ink washed expansion angel minis, the scenario book, the upgrade kit, expansion acrylic, standees, Walt minis, Deliverance music, MP3 files. Wow, that's cool. And the exclusive Metal XP round token with all applicable stretch goals, save $47. You can add base game add-ons after selecting the pledge, and you get the kitchen sink on top of it.
So you'll deliver the kitchen sink?
Let's see. Deluxe gameplay bundle, $149. All 19 ink washed Angel minis, the scenario book, and the exclusive. Oh, okay. I'll just skip over that. Yeah, and the kitchen sink personally crafted for you. Everything all in, $259 for backers that want all Deliverance content, everything. And you get the one t-shirt, choose size, style, and pledge manager. Cool. Wow, almost $2,000. Wow. For fans that want to support the campaign in a big way, get early access to a reviewer's preview copy of the Council of the Fallen prototype and get a one-of-a-kind original art piece signed by our artist, Dan Maynard. Includes all items in everything all in pledge tier. Wow.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm actually going to close up the other link for one thing, and I'm going to keep this guy open. I'm going to use this link when posting in the comment section. And I'm going to also include Andrew's website and the link to the one interview you did, Tom. Because this is, wow, this is really, really cool.
This is quality.
Yeah. Oh, as to Chaz Y, hello. And you just missed Andrew. He had to go because he had another appointment. So, yeah, well, we're going to be ending soon, so you'll be able to rewatch our asking of him many myriad questions about this really, 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 really cool board game. I'm just going to check out this. I believe Andrew did hint in a recent update on YouTube that they are considering a video game version.
Wow.
Wow.
Sold.
Yes.
Yeah. Man. Man.
That'd be great for a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. Wish there was a board game version like this of Crown of Blood.
You never know.
Maybe someday. All right. We're gonna plug, I guess, ourselves. I'm gonna actually keep this on the screen just so that, whatever. So first off, I guess for one thing, you can find Alliance authors over on Substack. The description will be in the comments section in a minute because for some reason the description links aren't working. So I'll fix that. Don't worry. You can also get Dan and my co-written book, Crown of Blood, which there are two links for that because there's one for Europe and one for North America. Well, it's on Amazon basically. And there's, of course, anything you want to plug, Tom?
Well, I have a book out on Draft Digital called Treasure the Apache. That's you can buy on Amazon. And
yeah, I'll include it in the collection of links I gotta grab. And of course, everybody do subscribe because we're starting a new YouTube channel and hopefully it'll be bigger than any of the others we've ever had. And most of all, make sure to support Andrew's freaking amazing board game because this is freaking cool.
It is really tempting to put down to 250.
Yeah, probably gonna have to do that. So everybody race over, put down the 250 for just everything, because this is just really, really, really cool stuff. And I guess we're going to need an outro. We haven't got one yet. So remember, people, for the Alliance!
For the Alliance!